everybody. Tony George along with Griffin Murphy. Welcome back to the Gridiron Six-Pack. Fresh off a 4-2 week last week on the show. We like to keep that win percentage up there for you. Bear in mind, we're taping this on Wednesday, folks. So some of these lines could be stale if you're catching the show later in the week, just so you know. And, of course, we're going to break down 3 college and 3 NFL games. And, of course, looking forward to a big weekend. This is the weekend where a lot of teams, especially elite Power 5 teams, have kind of got the rust knocked off, a little bit. They're kind of honing their skills, getting ready for conference action. You may see some covers out there on some big numbers this week as they're gearing up for the schedule. And this may be the last of the weak sisters they see unless it's in conference. But also, and I reiterated this on a free play too, take a look with these teams laying these huge numbers of who they got on deck now. Now we're in those sandwich spots, so just bear that in mind. When you looking around at some of these huge numbers this weekend, because there's some teams like, Notre Dame got a huge game next week, Michigan, even Texas with their opener, with Baylor next week coming off that huge win. They're laying a big number against a team that already beat a Big 12 team. So there's a lot of scenarios out there that exist, folks, that we want you to be watching out for. And we'll have all the answers for you over at DocSports.com. Of course, all of our picks, premium picks, go up on Thursday for the entire week through Monday, college and pro. So, get yourself geared up, set your timer, tattoo it to your girlfriend's rear end, whatever you got to do to remind yourself to get over to DocSports.com. Been around 52 years for Reason and Griff. Well, first, before we get to your game, Griff, how was your week last week?
We ended up doing good, Tony. I ended up on the NFL slide. I did drop my big play on the NFL slide. I went 1-1, although I did blow up. I had the Niners, and that was an absolute showdown. I mean, they completely came out, balls out. They played phenomenal football. And then on the college side of things, I actually swept my Saturday going 2-0 with Wake Forest and Oklahoma State. So I had a good weekend, to say the least. My top plays didn't quite hit, but I did end up. I'm on a 7-3 run right now in my past 3 weeks. So we're rolling right now, Tony. We're doing good.
Last time I checked, 70% was pretty good.
I'll take it.
Just those of you playing the home version of being a handicapper, 7-3 is pretty good. So, and of course, we had a good week in the NFL last week. We slipped. We finally lost some games in college football after 2 weeks of going unbeaten, but we got a huge slate this week. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. We're not here to sell you picks. We're here to inform you. We're going to inform you about a big one coming down the pipe here. Penn State is taking on Illinois, minus 14.5. I was a little shocked at how far Illinois had fallen. They were one of the big surprise teams last year in the Big Ten. And they had a couple of brothers, one on offense and one on defense, one at running back and one at linebacker last year, that both went in the first 3 rounds of the NFL. They had 4 or 5 players on that team that went to the NFL. It showed up against Kansas here last week as well for Illinois. But in Penn State, Drew Aller, let me tell you something. Penn State's got themselves a signal caller. I'm a little concerned about this game for Illinois. I don't know what you're thinking, Griff, because we never talked to each other about who we're leaning before the show starts. We always kind of like the element of surprise. But, boy, that Illinois defense, 532 yards they gave Kansas and 416 to Toledo. Let me tell you something. Penn State coming in here at the full head of steam. Your thoughts?
So, Tony, rolling into this game, but before I do jump into this game, those of you guys who do follow me on YouTube, you know that I am the master when it comes to, you want more free sports picks and content like this, head on over to our YouTube channel. Make sure to give us that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications. That way, every single time we drop another free sports pick, you will be notified. That is my robust system. Now you guys can actually see me as an actual human. I'm not a robot rolling in. But something that I don't think a lot of you guys do keep in mind is the fact that if you do go ahead and create a free account with Doc Sports, all you have to do to get $60 in your credit, we are not asking you guys for any credit card information. You don't have to put $60 down, anything like that. All we are simply asking you guys to do is put in your name, your email, and we are going to park $60 straight into your account. And you can use that $60 on any handicapper on the Doc Sports website of your choosing. So, guys, that is something to absolutely keep in mind. Even if you don't like using other handicappers' analysis, you like using your own analysis. It's just it's another confluence. Maybe you have a game on your mind. You got a free $60. Use the expert analysis. Now you have two confluences combined. Now you have yourself a play. So that's something to keep in mind. I know nobody likes to hear the charade about the smash the subscribe and turn on the notifications. I don't like dealing with it either. I don't like hearing it either. But you know what, guys? Free $60, jump on it. But rolling at you, Tony, let's jump into this game. We've got Penn State rolling in right now. And something that I do want to recap, let's talk about that 2021 game. 9 overtimes. The last time Penn State and Illinois played each other, 9 overtimes. Wow. This is the longest college football game in history. It was remarkable. It was remarkable. And Illinois ended up capitalizing on that game in a 2018 victory. So that is something that I definitely wanted to touch up on rolling into this. Right now, though, the current record, all-time Penn State does have Illinois hammered. They are currently 20-6 against Illinois. And rolling into this game, you already nailed it yourself, Tony, with Drew Aller at the quarterback spot, at the helm. This kid is a sophomore, and he is living up to the hype, to say the least, passing for over 500 yards. And then he's got that dual split back with Allen and Singleton. And these guys have been absolutely explosive on that ground game, rushing for over 400 yards. They've been tremendous. And then you've also got Wallace and Lambert Smith in your receiver core for Aller. So those are guys that I'm going to be eyeing out on that offensive side, key players all game. And then I want to talk about the offensive line. We are talking about an offensive line that is the top 10 in the nation, this offensive line with Penn State. And then you roll over to their defensive side, and they've got defensive end Chop Robinson, predicted 2024 NFL first-round draft pick. This guy is an absolute stud. We know this defensive line, on top of that, is also considered one of the top 10 defenses in all of college football in the nation. And then I also want to touch up on the secondary, and that's with Kalen King. Kalen King is also a cornerback for Penn State. He is also somebody who is predicted to go in the first round in the 2024 draft pick. This Penn State defense is absolutely stack loaded. At that linebacker set, they are mature. They are leaders. They follow their rules. They follow their assignments. They are not afraid to get on their players for blowing plays and missing assignments. But to say the least, this defensive line is absolutely locked down, and their offensive line locked down. And then I roll over and I look at this Illinois team. And after the performance that I seen them put up against Kansas, Tony, I was not impressed by any means. I mean, that was brutal. I mean, Altmaier at the helm for this Illinois team, he had under 2 seconds in the pocket every single play. Their offensive line was blown up consistently. Their defensive line was pathetic, and their linebackers were pathetic. I mean, granted, let's talk about it. Daniels, he's an absolute stud quarterback for this Kansas City, or for this Kansas Jayhawk team, to say the least. He is very hard to tackle. He's very fast. He is a phenomenal athlete. But the amount of missed tackles that I've seen from this Illinois team, their defense getting blown up, their offensive line not being able to contain any pass block whatsoever. I mean, I was completely disgusted with that. And on top of that, they barely snuck away their first win of the season against Toledo on a game-winning field goal. So when I look at this thing, I'm looking at Penn State with a smash house run game offense. I think they are going to completely expose this Illinois team. There's a lot of caution going into this game. It's a minus 14.5 spread right now. So that is a lot of points, especially when we're talking about the Big Ten. I mean, we've got two teams going to war in this matchup. But when I look at this game after what I've seen Illinois produce in that matchup against Kansas and just squeezing out that win against Toledo barely on that game-winning field goal, and then Penn State coming out 2-0, they're absolutely rolling. Best offensive line in the nation, top 10 defensive line in the nation, top 10 defense in the nation. They've got 2 defenders already predicted in the first round draft pick. I mean, Tony, there's not a whole lot for me to say, man. I love Penn State in this game, and I think they are going to expose this Illinois defense and offense early and often in this matchup. So I'm going to have to give a little bit of a heavier lean towards this Penn State team at a minus 14.5. That is my play rolling with this one. I like Penn State, Tony. What do you got any take on it? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, Penn State's power rated a lot higher than Kansas. And look what Kansas did to them, lit them up. And I think it behooves some people on the futures market to sprinkle some money on Penn State to win the Big Ten. They're just as good as anybody in the Big Ten on any given day. This is a really good football team. They had a good quarterback last year, but this is a better quarterback. They kind of had a layup game last week, but they opened up against West Virginia right out of the gate. He threw for over 320 yards in that game against West Virginia. I just think this is I think Penn State's going to be a beast. It's going to have to be dealt with as the season grows.
I couldn't agree more with you, Tony. And rolling in now to this next matchup, we've got Northern Illinois at Nebraska. Nebraska is currently favored at minus 10.5 at a total of 43.5. Tony, what are your thoughts rolling into this game, considering the fact Nebraska is rolling in right now at 0-2? They just got beat up by Buffalo. And Tony, before I pass the baton to you, do you believe? What are your thoughts with this Buffalo team, man? I mean, what's going on here? 2-0, they're rolling right now. I know that's not part of the slate, and we don't want to break that down, but they rolled over Nebraska pretty easily after they took down TCU.
Yeah, Nebraska handed them that game. They played with them the first half, but you just can't turn the ball over 3 times on the road anywhere, let alone in a home opener where it's just a frenzy level crowd. Neon Dion's got them all fired up. It's going to be interesting to me. With Colorado, the jury is still out. TCU was overrated. Nebraska turned it over nonstop. Nebraska really has no quarterback play, had no quarterback play in that game, and then he goes down, and they run in the second and third stringer. But it's going to be interesting. They got Oregon in 2 weeks and an in-state rivalry with Colorado State on deck, laying a big number this week. I want to see what they do with that number on Colorado State this week with a big opponent on deck. If they go in there and take care of business, because as you recall, Washington State, there was a lot of people in week 1 that were pounding Colorado State, saying they had the best defense in the Mountain West, and that Washington State wasn't all that. And, of course, that was your pick last week, Washington State plus the points against Wisconsin. They beat them outright. Wisconsin, I think everybody's pumping the brakes a little bit on the hype on them, but I'm still pumping the brakes on the hype on Colorado. What he has done from a 1-win team to where they're at now, that was like the 7th most watched football game in the history of Fox Sports last week, and one of the most heavily bet football games, me included, on Colorado. I had a futures ticket on them at plus 8.5. Against Nebraska. I knew Matt Rule's turnaround time at Nebraska wasn't going to be all that as quick as everybody anticipated. It wasn't at Temple, and it wasn't at Baylor either. The first year, he won a total of 2 games, So that being said, I'm not buying the hype. They do have talent. I think they're a good team. They're going to go to a bowl game. The way they're playing. But now, you got to start navigating the Pac-12, which is loaded. The Pac-12 4 weeks ago disappeared overnight. It's just gone. And yet they have the best quarterbacks they have 6 or 7 quarterbacks that arguably are the best in the nation. They've got 8 teams inside the top 25 right now, and the conference has been obliterated. I don't know what to think. So I think the jury's still out for me on anointing, Sanders getting, 8 or 9 or 10 wins there and being part of the national landscape. But what he's done has been amazing. Unfortunately for Nebraska, that's not the case. And that's who we're talking about here. They gave a game away to Minnesota, and it seemed like Matt Rule was channeling Scott Frost. We're going to blow up on special teams. We're going to have penalties at the worst possible moment to kill drives, give the other team momentum, and we are going to continually, during the game on a consistent basis, turn the frickin' ball over. And finally, we can't get any quarterback play. And he said in his presser on Monday, guess what? Jeff Sims is QB1, and he looks terrible. He looked like Adrian Martinez did 2 years ago, a human turnover machine, and can hit an open receiver. But to the benefit of Nebraska, Nebraska has a defense. They shut down Minnesota. They shut down Colorado for a half. But when your offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out in the altitude, and you're giving the other team extra possessions nonstop during the game, 4 of them, your defense is going to get tired, and sooner or later, Colorado is going to pull away from you. Anybody is going to pull away from you. Tallahassee JUCO could pull away from you when you're giving the other team those possessions. But I think in this game here, and being an alum of Nebraska, being a diehard Husker fan my entire life, all 50-some years of it, I can tell you, I think this is the game they exact revenge for the first 2 games. I think this is a game they can mature, learn from their mistakes, put it together, and this is a type of team that Sims can have a decent game against. Northern Illinois lost 11-14 last week against Southern Illinois, the Salukis, the Missouri Valley basketball school team. So here's the other thing. They gave up 4 sacks in that game to Southern Illinois. I got news for you. While Nebraska sucks hind tit right now, I can tell you one thing they are good at. They lead the nation in quarterback sacks, including going up against a Big Ten team and a Pac-12 team. So they weren't playing cream puffs. They were playing Power 5 teams. Nebraska's secondary gave Colorado fits in that game the entire first half. That's why they're sacking the quarterback so much. The secondary Nebraska is sneaky good and athletic. I say Nebraska wins by 2 touchdowns here. I think they exact some demons in this game in their home opener under Rule in Lincoln against a beatable opponent. And yes, folks, I do know that I think it was 2017. We played Northern Illinois in Lincoln as a 13-point favorite. We had 5 turnovers in the game from 8 and 2 pick sixes, and we lost the game. And I'll guarantee you that film's been brought up for Matt Rule during the week. But I'm going to lay it with Nebraska here. Remember, this opened up at 14, dropped all the way down to 9.5, and now it's up to 10.5. And I think we gained some value from that drop off 14. I'm going to lean Nebraska in this game, and I think they get it done. I think they can win here by 2 touchdowns. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see this, let's say, 28-10, something like that. I mean, it might be an underplay, but I don't see Northern Illinois coming in here, even though they beat Boston College earlier this year in overtime. Boston College isn't that good of a team this year. So maybe they were looking ahead too, not taking them serious, but we'll take them serious to get it done. Speaking of getting it done, Florida's been getting it done against Tennessee in the swamp since I can't remember when. And this game intrigues me a little bit because I kind of know where Florida's at, but I'm not sure, Griff, if I know where Tennessee is at. And I'll tell you what, right now, Florida's coach is on the hot seat. What coach at Florida isn't been in the hot seat since Urban Meyer left? But at the end of the day here, 6.5 on the road. Tennessee favored, total 58.5. Your thoughts? I think it's do or die for Florida in this one, but I'm not so sure they got the horses to trade punches if Tennessee gets rolling. I'm not. What your thoughts on this?
So, Tony, I agree with just about everything you said. This is going to be a very, very weird game. We kind of know what to expect from this Florida team. And when it comes to Tennessee, we know they're just an explosive offense across the board. Granted, Hooker is no longer at the helm at that quarterback spot. We now have Milton at the helm. But you know what? He's showing out. But their run game has been absolutely tremendous. They're running that triple running back, and they've got Wright, Small, and Sampson. They've been dominating on that ground game. And we've also got to keep out key players in mind. We've got McCoy as a receiver as well, and we've got Squirrel White. And Squirrel White is somebody who I believe that if Tennessee, you got to remember, we're going into Gainesville. Tennessee has not won in Gainesville in 20 years, Tony. 20 years, and they're rolling into this game 6.5-point favor rolling into this matchup. And you know the fans in Gainesville, if it gets crazy on there. So what I'm anticipating, let me step back here for a second. This is all going to be played down in this first quarter, because if Florida can come out and sustain this offense, because we know Tennessee's got that outbreaking offense. I'm talking about a pick six, any type of turnover, fumble, anything. And if that Gainesville fan group, that crowd gets on side with the Gators in this matchup, all hell could break loose for this Tennessee team. And this Florida team could have all the momentum rolling into this. Hey, in the back of their mind, subconsciously knowing, listen, we haven't lost here in 20 years. We're up 7-0 first quarter. We got a chance at beating these guys at the 11th ranked Tennessee team right now. So rolling into this right now, when I look at this game, we know what to expect from the offense. They're going to air the ball out, and I would anticipate that they're going to air it out to Squirrel early and often for the sake they are looking for that big play. They want that big play because this game is going to be contradicted around Florida. Florida cannot try to hang with these boys and play Tennessee's game. Florida has to come out and play their game, and that's going to start with Mertz at the helm. He is going to have to control this offense. He's got ETN in the backfield along with Johnson. They're very good running backs. They have a very strong offensive line. And when it comes back to Tennessee, last season in 2022, they were the 91st ranked defense in the entire nation. They did not have the greatest defense. Granted, Hooker, we remember how fast this offense moves. They score a lot of points. They score quickly. They move the ball often. So that is something to keep in mind. So when that stat comes out, you have to also keep into accountability the fact that the defense is on the field a whole lot more than the offense because they score so many points. So going into this game with Florida, it's all going to come down to Mertz. Can he control this game? On these 3rd and 2s, on these 3rd and 3s, can our running backs, can they move the ball forward and gain possession and control the ball? The entire game plan for this Florida team rolling into this should be to keep the ball away from Tennessee, keep the ball on the ground, possess as many possessions as you can, keep stretching those first downs. So looking at this game, Tony, yes, we know the offensive line with Florida is very good. The defensive line with Florida is very good. Right now, they're per play, this Florida team, in just 2 games, they're averaging 4.1 yards per play, which is very good on the defensive side. And their secondary was a little bit of an if before the season started. But to date, right now, 2 weeks into the season, they're averaging 115 yards in the secondary per game, which is very, very good in the matter of 2 games. That is something to keep in mind. So when I look at this game, if Tennessee cannot capitalize with Milton early and often, and Florida does end up getting a grasp in this game and controls the run game, controls the clock, they're going to keep this very, very tight. I don't see the same Tennessee offense with Hooker and Milton. I just don't see it right now. Give it a few more weeks. Give me a few more weeks and maybe my mind will change. But as of right now, I'm not sold fully on this offense yet. And the defensive side, we already know last season, 91st ranked. Obviously, I already broke that down, but there's a lot of if factors in that aspect. And going back to Florida's defense, they're playing, they're showing out, they're coming out. So looking at this game, it's going to go back and forth. It's kind of a haywire type of matchup when I look at it. So what I'm really looking at this game is, I'm going to be honest with you, Tony. I have a very, very, very light lean with Florida in the points, considering the fact Florida may come out in this game and control the game. And if they do so, I love the fact with taking Florida with that 6.5 points at home, considering they haven't lost at home in Gainesville in 20 years to Tennessee. And on top of that aspect, I also there's numerous aspects in this game that I'm really looking for, but the main thing that I'm really liking in this game, Tony, is the under. I like the under in this game because if Florida can control and they can play that gameplay that we are expecting and hoping they play, which is control the ball, slow the clock, that is going to keep the ball out of Tennessee's hands, and that's going to keep away these breakout plays, and that's going to keep this game as low scoring as possible. So, Tony, I have a very, very slight lean with Florida and the points, but I love the under in this game, and the current under in this game is 58.5, and that is my play. I like the under in this game, Tony. Any thoughts, anything like that?
Well, I tend to agree with the under. I'm not sold on the side, but then again, I've noticed one thing. Milton doesn't seem that comfortable in this offense yet, where the hooker was, off the chart, obviously till he got hurt. But I mean, at the end of last year, but I would agree if Florida is going to cover this number, this game's going to go under. I'd agree with that.
Okay, well, let's roll into this next game. But before I do so, guys, I need you guys to make it rain in the comment section for me because we are flipping the script right now and we are jumping into NFL. And I want to know, what is your guys' hype? Is it Saturday morning or is it Sunday morning? Are we calling the wife or the girlfriend on Saturday? Are we sending her off with the kids? We already got the babysitter. It's done. Are we rolling that route with this thing? Is Saturday our big day? Or are we, in my situation, Tony, I'm not married, nor do I have a girlfriend situation. Guys that are in my situation, are we calling the boys up? We got a 30 rack on ice. Boys, we got game time. So, guys, make it rain in the comments. Let us know what you love because we love to interact with the community. And we like to take this information going forward for future stuff when it comes to NFL breakdowns, when it comes to college football breakdowns. What do you guys want more of? And we want to run that with you guys. But let's roll right into the NFL right now, Tony. And jumping into this right now, we've got Las Vegas at Buffalo. Buffalo is currently a favorite at -8.5, and the total is 46.5. Right now, right with this Vegas Raiders team coming off a 1-0 win, Garoppolo at the helm. He's got Adams. He's got Jacobs. They looked very good. And then Buffalo, what a disastrous open that was for them. Tony, take it away. What are your thoughts, man?
Buffalo blew a 13-3 lead against a backup quarterback that couldn't get a lap dance at the Spearmint Rhino with a fistful of hundreds last year. That's what happened to Buffalo. Josh Allen looked bad. Now, obviously, the big news in that game was Aaron Rodgers going down for the Jets, and that's sad. Whether you love him, he's a polarizing figure. Whether you love him or you hate him, he's like Tom Brady. You either love him or you hate him. There's no gray area, but the NFL's better for having him in it. So I feel bad about that aspect for the Jets backers. But the Jets have an elite defense. I mean a top 3 defense in the NFL, folks. The Raiders do not have that, but they pressure the quarterback very well. And that's something that always has given Josh Allen problems. And I think Josh Allen, while a good quarterback, I'm sick of hearing about these comparisons to Mahomes and all the Hurts and all these other elite quarterbacks in the league, because he fails in big moments and he gives games up. So that concerns me a little bit. And this is an overreaction to me. Vegas Raiders had a conference opener on the road as a 4-point dog and won outright. They're not giving any respect here in this spot. It is back-to-back roadies. I get that. Buffalo, if you were going to, I don't know if I would feel comfortable using them in a survivor pool because there's better games to bet. But when you lay 8.5 or 9 points in the NFL, that's like laying 20 in college. That is a big number in the NFL. So I got a suggestion for everybody for this game. You want to put Las Vegas in the 2-team 6-point teaser. I'm Tony the teaser. Everybody knows it. But if you would get them at plus 14.5, that's over the fall number of 14 through 3 through 4 through 6 through 7 through 10 through 14. That's 5 key numbers. Do I think that Buffalo's going to lose this game? Probably not. But short week, team full of confidence. I think it's too many points, but I'm going to take the safe route, and I'm going to be using Las Vegas in the front end or the back end of some 2-team 6-point teasers this week. That's the way I'm looking at this one, folks. Now I want to switch gears, Griff, to a game out here west. One of my only loss in the NFL last week was the Pittsburgh Steelers. They look like they hadn't played organized football in 15 years. I could not believe that at home, that was a Mike Tomlin coach football team. An unbelievable performance by San Francisco. And I may have underrated them. I still thought going in there that they should not have been the third highest power rated team in the NFL by most accounts, by most power rating systems, no matter who's you're looking at. I may have been wrong with that take because McCaffrey looked unstoppable. Purdy looked good. The defense looked good. I mean, they made Pickett, who's going to be a superstar in this league, they made him look like an ass clown. I mean, it was bad. I mean, I could not believe it. Now, either Pittsburgh is that bad or San Francisco's that good. I just don't think a Mike Tomlin coach team who really in the preseason looked like they were clicking on all cylinders whenever their first teamers were in there, are a bad ball team. I don't think there's a bad football team in that division. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati.
Right.
But I tell you what, right now, this is a conference game on the road, albeit just right down the 25-minute plane flight. But San Fran, 8 points against the Rams, who I gave everybody on this show last week for free. I said they're going to cover against those Seahawks. Stafford looked good. They look better than a lot of people thought they would. McVay can coach. Obviously, San Fran's got a good coach too. 8 points, total 44.5. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man, this one, I happened to actually, I hate to say it, Tony, I had the Niners last week. I pulled through with that victory, and that was a really, really well-played football game from the San Francisco team. I can't take anything away from them. I mean, from Brock Dirty Purdy, this guy, I don't care what anybody says. This guy is here to play. This guy is legit. He is the real deal. He passed for over 220 yards. He was very good in the pocket and outside of the pocket. And then you look at that run game. And we've got McCaffrey, and then you've got the side set with Debo. Debo didn't excel that much in this most recent matchup, but McCaffrey came off a 150-yard game along with the touchdown. And Debo is somebody who is always going to keep every single defense on their toes, especially when you have McCaffrey on that tailback slot. So that's something that I have heavy account for. And then you look into this receiver core, and how about Brandon Ayuk? This guy, any single time that Purdy was under pressure in the pocket and was able to escape, Ayuk was halfway down the field already. He had 2 touchdown passes for just about 150 yards. He looked absolutely tremendous. And then you got Kittle at tight end. This guy's not only going to be a tremendous blocker downfield, but he's also going to potentially grab a touchdown in this game. He's always somebody to look out for. I mean, the guy's tremendous. He's absolute stud, and he has been for many, many years. And then you go back to this defense. Bosa. I want to talk about Bosa in particular for this San Francisco defense. We have the number 1 ranked defense with San Francisco in all of football right now. And Bosa, there is no excuse why this guy should not be in every single snap of every single play on that defensive side. I think he sat out in the first half 3 plays, the entire first half against Pittsburgh. And in those 3 plays, that was the drive where Pittsburgh managed to capitalize on points. So Bosa is an absolute string on. And if you guys watch this game going into next week, watch how many guys it takes to defend Bosa. He's got both arms out and he's pile driving 3 guys backwards. And that opens up. San Francisco right now is known to have the best secondary in all of football. And then at the linebacker slot, they've got Greenland, Greenland and Warner, who are absolute studs. And Bosa is the guy who opens up that for these guys to absolutely smash. So across the board, I loved everything I seen out of San Francisco when it came to their defense. I loved the way Purdy controlled the offense. Where I did see a little bit of slack in that performance was the offensive line. The offensive line did not handle the pass rush that well, and Pittsburgh was able to get into the backfield several times. So looking at this game going deeper right now with the Rams, nobody expected that. Did anybody expect the Rams to come out and put a punishment out like they did? I believe they pulled off a 30-14 victory. They looked great. They didn't have Cooper Kupp in the game. Stafford utilized all of his players across the board. He had Akers on the ground. I mean, they played very good football. But giving that said, you have to consider this. Right now, Los Angeles is considered the 32nd ranked secondary in all of football. Yes, they played very good. They had very good secondary in their most recent matchup, but it's still too early to tell. And with that power stat, considering the fact that you've got to deal with Purdy, you've got to deal with Debo, you've got to deal with Ayuk, you've got Kittle. I mean, there's weapons across all fields of the floor. And the linebacker set with this Rams team is solid. They're not good on passing whatsoever, but they do have a good run. They do stuff the run game very, very well. And they have a solid defensive line, which is going to put San Francisco's offensive line to the test. So, Tony, when I look at this game and break this all out, what I'm really feeling in this game, -8 points is a lot, especially early in the season, and especially after the performance that the Rams did just put out. So I have a very, very heavy lean on teasing that game from 8 points to 7 points. Keep that at a 1-possession touchdown game. That is where I'm rolling with this game. I love the defense with this San Francisco Niners team. I love Bosa, Warner, Green. I mean, they're absolutely stack loaded. And then that offensive power front when we're talking about McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle. I mean, across the board, all maps. I think San Francisco outmatches them on every level of this game. The real test is going to come down to the offensive line for San Francisco and the defensive line with the Niners, or the defensive line with the Rams. So my lean in this game, Tony, is teasing this game and taking it to a touchdown at a -7 with the Rams. Any thoughts?
So how do you tease it from eight? You mean 6-point tease? Is that what we're talking about here?
The current line's of -8.
Yeah.
So tease it to 7.
Well, you can use a 6-point teaser once you tease it down to -2. That's what I would do in this thing.
Oh, either way. I mean, you could go with the push, but to be honest with you, Tony, I think a lot of heads are going to be on the Rams in this game after that show-out performance without Kupp. Yeah. And that is something that I'm also taking into habit. We don't follow the heavy money in this game. And I think the majority of the crowd is going to be looking at this game saying, hey, we just dropped 30 points offensively. They're going to give us 8 points. Let's jump on it. I want to fade the public in this game, and I like the Niners, man. So, yeah, Tony, if you want to take that 6 points, by all means do so. I like the 7, but I like 6 better.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, you know what? I'm going to intro the next game myself since I got the stage here because I'm going to make it short and sweet. We're running short on time here. This is going to be a real simple handicap for me. The Jets, Dallas. Okay, Dallas 9.5. How many points is Aaron Rodgers worth? You got an elite defense. You got a Dallas team that shut down a division opponent to 0. To 0. This is the lowest total on the board, folks. 39.5. Take the under. I think that that defense of the Jets is going to have to take over and be the lead for this team. They're also going to have a very conservative game plan. Bear in mind, they only got 2 quarterbacks on the roster right now. And one of them, they don't want to hurt Wilson. They're not going to have him drop back being a passer with Micah Parsons running around. I can tell you that right now. Because Dallas Cowboys are headhunting. So they're going to have a conservative game plan, a lot of throws to the backs out of the backfield. They got 2 really good running backs there with Hall and Cook, big time. They're going to try and run the football, eat clock, and their defense is capable of slowing Dallas down. I think this got a 17-10 type ball game, 2013 written all over it in my book. I'm going to take the under in the Jets and Dallas game. This weekend, personally, I have a huge card on Saturday with a 7-unit top play between 2 Power 5 teams with a very weak line that's going to be an absolute whitewash. Not lying to you. So be sure, and we've 6-3 on the year, low volume so far. I'm bumping up the volume a little bit this week to at least a 4-pack, maybe a 5-pack even. And of course, on Sunday we have a 6-unit top play on another 4-pack. And we tore it up last week on Sunday, and we're looking forward to another great week in the NFL. Force free $60 at Docs. Don't forget about that. Click the link in the description below, a tab on the upper left-hand corner of the website. And, of course, Griff, you got some goodies on deck for everybody this weekend.
Absolutely, Tony. Yes, I do. So I'm rolling out hot as well. I've got 2 plays going out Saturday, and it is time. I'm finally going to bang out my 7-unit. I've seen enough college football. We are deep enough in the season now. We're 3 weeks in, and I've seen enough. I've sniffed out a very, very nice matchup. So I've got 2 plays going out on Saturday. I have a 7-star unit or a 7-star play going out, as well as I have a 4-unit. And I am currently undefeated in my 4-unit plays in football across the board right now. I'm 4-0 undefeated with that. And then Sunday, I have a 6-unit top play going out, and I have 3 plays throughout the entire day. So we're full again, Tony. We got the whole slate. I'm not ready to pound out my 7-unit in football, the NFL yet. I want to wait 1 more week, get a little bit more grasp on the teams, see what's going on, especially considering just like the Rams, just like the Jets. There's been chaos all over the place, so I'm not going to maniac out and come out and shoot out with a 7-unit. I'm not ready for that by any means, but I like my 6-unit play. I have very high confidence in my 6-unit play. 3 plays in the NFL slate and 2 plays in the college football slate. That's what I've got rolling out this weekend, Tony.
It's nice and refreshing to see in the sports betting world with all the guys coming out of the woodwork now as quote unquote professional handicappers with the legalization of sports wagering in so many states becoming more mainstream. They're coming out of the woodwork everywhere, podcasts, all these different things. And kind of Master Yoda here and young Skywalker, Griffin being some of the new blood that Docs has brought in, because Docs is very slow to add cappers. We're probably been around 52 years. We know what we're doing. And when you've got a young guy like Griff and you see him only putting out 2 picks on a Saturday when there's 80-plus games, that tells you something. He knows zeroing in and low volume, even on Sunday with only 3 plays, is crucial to you being profitable at the end of the season, and that's refreshing to see, folks. And you can find him with me over at DocSports.com. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll be back at you next week with the Gridiron Six-Pack. Best of luck this weekend.
Some luck, everybody.